How's it going, everyone? Decided to go live a few minutes early here just to make sure everything is fine on my end. For anyone that's watching the stream VOD, myself or someone else is going to have a timestamp in the comments down below to when the DECA stream actually starts, but I did start this stream up like 10 or so minutes ahead of them, ahead of when they officially announced that they were going to be starting it up. Maricat, Darthon, get to the choppa. Mia, how's it going? Sean, again, thank you for the casual membership. Greatly appreciate it. Please be a legendary vengeance. No, we already know what the ship's going to be. It's like 50-50 that it's going to be like the Voth Bulwark or the Atlas 2. I mean, they could surprise us with something else, but those are the two expected ships right now. Stuka. Microvacs, terrible. Oh, boy. So while we wait here, I'm just going to get my endeavors done real quick. I'm going to just re-roll all these to be damage ones, and it apparently wants me to do ground today. Polaron, Tetrion, and then healing ground, so let's just do that quick. So I've got a Polaron weapon, I got a Tetrion. Hop it into Jupiter Station Showdown real quick. It said so on the stream title. Oh, so they changed the stream title? Did I not realize?
You've arrived.
Okay. Okay.
I've been shot in a lot of
Yeah. Be interesting to see how that goes. You can re-roll the task. It's just re-rolling the rewards isn't possible right now. Yeah, so this is probably the Atlas 2, the Trafalgar, and I would expect it as a TMP skin. Yeah. Juggernaut with a lance. Yeah, I mean that was teased the other day. I forgot to mention it in the news video, but there was a comment from Scorpion in the official Discord. Someone was asking about how they'd like incorporate a lance onto like an Excelsior, and Scorpion responded, you know, that there'd be something soon that would give us an idea. So I assume that, however, because if the Trafalgar there is the Atlas 2, then they had to find a way to like integrate. You know, where's the lance on the ship at, or the array? Juggernauts don't have hangar bays, right? Dead on arrival, yeah. Not no. It's money's on the legendary shuttle. Terrible. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be YouTube only today. Just got out of the hospital. Nice. I'm glad you're doing better. Hope you're doing better. But yeah, they did change the title there to the Trafalgar Command Juggernaut. So whatever this is, you know, Command Juggernaut. We're waiting for them to go live. Dan needs his bit giving fix. Save it for a couple of hours. Yeah, so the new ship is the Trafalgar Command Juggernaut, and their stream is supposed to start here in about 5 minutes. A real-life Trafalgar class is a British submarine, a nuclear vessel. Terrible. Name doesn't sound familiar. Just got 500 triangles. Yeah, I didn't want to do the stream on Twitch as well. They're already streaming on Twitch, so will it definitely be 2 ships? I think it's today's the Trafalgar. Ruin, how's it going? Okay, my Endeavor just finished here in the background, so I'm going to close the game out. And now we wait. So I have the sortable filterable list open right now, and let's take a look at the juggernauts in the game. So we do have ships that are juggernauts with command seating. The World Razor and Emerald Chain both have secondary command, and then the Liberated Borg command juggernaut, that's got primary command. So this is the second juggernaut with a primary command. The question is, what's the secondary? Because right now, none of the juggernauts in the game have a pilot secondary. Well, I'm foreshadowing. I'm just looking at the ship list here. Command Intel is a really good combo. Yeah, Command Intel is great. Intel's got override subsystem safeties. It's likely to be an Infinity Lockbox ship. Yeah, I would say this is probably Infinity Lockbox. Will I be putting out a review video on the Breen Dread? I still want to. I just haven't had time given just my current real life situation. It's been an exhausting time period. Imagine C-Store. We just had a C-Store bundle release. And in fact, console just got that bundle today. I do also want to mention the on PC there is now a bundle sale live. Okay. I don't have an MBA, so what do I know? But why don't they pair their Zen sales with store sales? I don't understand that either. Like I feel like they would have gotten a lot more sales, especially with the Muds bundle and the bundle sale on PC if there'd been a Zen sale around this time period. And still no announcement about the sale. Wonder if Tekka knows it's on. Ouch. The Odd Thought, I mean that's a good ship. The Bring Odd Thought's really good. Is it the best ship in the game? No, it's probably one of the best performing promo ships ever. But that doesn't, equate to it being something everyone needs to go out and pick up. The main value for most people is really just from the trait. It's a good ship. I enjoyed flying it. But at the end of the day, I got more performance out of my Arc Royal from the C-Store. The big thing with the Breen ship, of course, again, was that fire at will trait. Oh, is it live? Okay. They got music going right now. Let me just make sure you guys can hear this. I'm gonna unmute this. Let me know if you hear the music. Yeah, okay. Limp, that is a weird bug. Alan, how's it going? Yeah, you guys shouldn't be able to hear the audio right now, but as soon as I hit the button, which I'll do when I hear them talking, I'll you guys will have sound again. Got you intruders on YouTube, then watching on Twitch. Nice. I'm gonna just briefly put this up as well, but if you have questions for them, ask in their Twitch chat. If you go to the description of this stream, there is a link over to their Twitch. So if you want to ask any questions, you need to do it through their official Twitch channel there.
I hope.
There we go.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Developer Stream with some of your favorite people. Today we have Jeremy, and
Hello.
of course, Pandas is also back. And for the first time, we also have Scorp here. I hope you will be very
Let me know
nice
if
to
they're loud
them,
enough.
and if not, you will have to talk to me after the stream.
Hi. It's good to be here.
Can we do just a quick mic check? We've had some issues at the beginning of our previous streams. Can everybody hear us? Call it out.
Hello.
A little bit more
Articles
enthusiasm,
live
please.
too.
Woo, yeah! New ship!
Oh god, that's very enthusiastic. God.
All right.
All right, great,
All right,
great.
sounds good.
Good to go.
Okay.
Woo, we're learning. We're pros at this now.
Wow.
We're totally professionals at this. No mix-up today. No delays.
Bye, Brand.
All right. Before we go into the nitty-gritty and talk about the wonderful ship, you can already see the question of the day is, what's your favorite Q episode? I'll answer first, as always.
I see,
And
Mara.
mine is definitely Deja Q, mostly because I like a sad little man and Q pouting because he doesn't have his powers, and moping around the starship was very entertaining to me. How about you, Jeremy?
My answer is probably going to be pretty unpopular. I see most in the chat who have answered are saying Q Who, which is a great episode. But my favorite was actually Q Less of all the Q episodes. First of all, Q is an incredible character. Trying to choose a favorite Q episode is
Atlas
very
D
tough.
right there.
But I think as an episode, Q Less is probably my favorite because of how it helps set up Deep Space Nine as being different from TNG. It pulls on some of the threads that you saw in Next Generation of how Q behaves
One of the
with
newer
humans
artists, yes, Dan.
and all that kind of stuff. And then he gets punched by Cisco, which kind of, I think, did a really good job of setting the tone that Deep Space Nine is not just more Next Generation. And I think that for that reason, it stands apart as just a great episode, regardless of being a good Q episode.
As for me, I am much like chat. I like Q Who because
I'm for a
I'm a
second.
simple guy.
The console passive on this is every for 2 seconds, every 8 seconds, your weapons will have no range penalty or weapon power drain.
You have to say something.
Okay, well, Pundus is the only correct one here. Q Who is the best Q episode. I'm a sucker for cosmic horror, so I think Q Who, they kind of feel the most, the Borg feel the
Goes live
most
Tuesday.
unknowable
Infinity
and
Lockbox.
scary. I am realizing as I'm saying this, I like this episode because of the Borg, not necessarily because of Q. So maybe that's a loophole. But yeah.
I mean, that's a bit true for me too.
I think that I also want to call out that I loved all of the Voyager Q episodes, even though they were
Yeah.
pretty campy at times. But just the
I'm
whole
gonna mute
storyline
them
of
for
getting to
just a second. But yeah, looking at the stats of this, Commander TAC, Command, Lieutenant Commander Uni, Pilot, Lieutenant Commander Inge, Lieutenant Science, Ensign Universal. So yeah, Pilot secondary.
Than being a lone ship surviving in a very hostile part of space. So yeah, I can see that.
And I really
Yeah.
like seeing into the continuum, like you said, with the cosmic
Yep,
horror
Tuesday.
aspect. I think there's a bit of horror in seeing
Indeed,
how the
Warpcore.
continuum looks, but you can't perceive it, so you perceive it as like a desert road or like a not Cold War, like a Revolutionary War battlefield where guns firing are stars exploding. I think that was a really cool idea that they touched on in Voyager.
Mhm.
Right.
There's also just an element of cosmic horror in the idea that the Q themselves can get so
You
bored
can't
of
hear me over the devs?
their existence that they try to off themselves.
Yeah.
You can't say that on stream. This is getting us
Sorry.
cancelled.
Well, end their existence because they don't actually live, so they don't actually die. They're Q, right? It's all weird. Sorry.
No, I have to agree that the cosmic horror parts of Q, like the whimsy in the original shows, was really cool, but then getting a little more of the horror parts in the later shows is very nice to see how they use that concept in different ways.
Yeah, Warpcore.
And even in Picard as well. I don't want to spoil all of that just yet because it's more recent, but yeah, there's more Q stuff explored in Picard as well.
I mean, is it that recent?
Like 3 years, I think.
Okay, anyone who hasn't
is
seen
time?
Picard, please do, so we don't spoil you in the streams. Also, just because Picard is a really cool show. It did make us.
Okay, I'm gonna mute them for a second. The blog for the ship is up. So this is the Trafalgar Command Juggernaut. It's an Infinity Lockbox ship. It drops on PC Tuesday, September 2nd. And if you're over on console, it'll be dropping on September 30th. So it is a lockbox ship. It is a new variant of the Atlas. And I'm guessing that the skin here, if you want it, you have to get the ship. That's how it's worked for past ships that have had new variants added in. For the stats here, it's got a 5-3 weapon setup, 1.45 hull mod, 1.2 shield mod, 3 device slots, consoles 5 TAC 4-inch 2 psi, base turn rate of 9, impulse of 0.17, inertia 60, plus 15 weapon power, plus 5 engine power. Can equip dual cannons. Does have... Having cruiser commands on it is a bit weird, given it's a TAC Juggernaut, so that's probably a typo. We'll find out here on the stream shortly. And it does have an innate lance. Now, for the bridge officer setup, Commander TAC Command, Lieutenant Commander Uni Pilot to Lieutenant Commander Inge, Lieutenant Science, Ensign Universal. Do they know about the how we need another pilot command ship? I don't think they know. This setup will work, but it's definitely a tease, like Warpcord said in chat. It's definitely a tease for people wanting another ship to use the Eagle console on to full effect. So it'll still be like a really capable ship. It just, damn, if that had been turned around, pilot command, that would have made this a little bit more interesting. The console on this, yeah, the tooltip that they have here is weird. Enables a mode for 2 seconds. The clicky on it is when you activate the clicky, it sacrifices current shields to recharge all bridge officer abilities. Keen, thank you for the follow there. The lance, we'll test that out more when it drops. And then the trait, when inflicting or receiving a critical hit, summons a Wild Weasel Shuttlecraft to max 5. Each can last for 60 seconds. So hopefully that is a summon that is able to do a good bit of damage, but if it's just a copy paste of the existing Wild Weasels, not the highest expectations. But let's listen to them.
Visible turrets, and I think Scorp has more to talk about on that.
Can't believe you doxed me already. No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, so when we were designing this ship, one of the things that I really wanted to lean into was the idea of
Broadside
that
phasers
line
slots
where
right there, yeah.
in one of the films Kirk says
Circus?
like, you know, the Enterprise is like a tall ship wanting a star to steer her by. And I really wanted to lean into the kind of naval heritage of ships here, right? So there's a lot of small details on this ship that kind of, I hope, hinted at being more like a big sailing ship, right? And the shape of the hull is inspired by World War II battleships that would have this like belt armor. If you see a World War II battleship out of water, it's got this kind of like bulging hull on the side. That's one of the things that I kind of took some inspiration from. And then there's a lot of just sort of small details about, you know, on top of the saucer there's this kind of plateau, and in my head canon, I consider that as like the deck of the ship. So that was something that I really wanted to lean into with this.
One thing that is pretty clear from the design here is that instead of being like exactly the Excelsior class, this is stylized a bit more in line with the Enterprise B, the Excelsior refit, as some call it. And I mean, I think you have more to say about that, Scott, but this was originally closer to the more normal blue and not teal Excelsior class.
Yeah, so originally when Thomas handed me this block out, it was purely a kit bash of the TMP Connie, and I was, you know, I said that I wanted to do something different, and we had to think about, okay, well, what does different mean for this? You know, the Connie is such an original or an iconic look that if we want to do something different, then we're gonna have to do something really different. So we actually reached out to John C., who is a very well-known fanfic author behind Edge of Midnight, which is a really cool kind of retelling of some events around the TOS era. And he'd done some work or some world building using the original Atlas. And so, yeah, we kind of reached out to him and said, hey, where would you put an Atlas 2 around the time of the kind of TMP era? And he was the one that kind of pointed us to, well, maybe it was an Excelsior style ship. And from there, you know, I explored a few options, and we kind of settled on this Excelsior but different look. It was really important to me that even though this, you know, is very recognizably derived from the Excelsior, that it's still really bespoke. There's no parts here that are just ripped straight from the Excelsior 2. It's all like custom, and for me, for this being a lockbox ship, that was really important, that it felt kind of bespoke. Star Trek has a lot of really rigid design languages, and a lot of those are just pulling other ships apart and turning them into something new. But I also think there's a lot of space to do something that is really familiar, but also kind of really different as well.
Yeah. And I definitely agree, and I think this does a great job with it. One more thing that I think is really cool about this design is, if you'll note near the front of the sauce on the underside, there are a few inset sort of like phaser cannon mount points and stuff where it can fire from. And I think Scott has a bit more detail into going the thought behind that.
It looks really good.
So yeah, I know Punders knows this is the bit that I was excited about. So we knew we wanted this to feel like a kind of galleon in space. And I'm a big fan of an audio drama called The Sojourn, where these ships that they fly have what are called chase guns, which are from the time of the Age of Sail. They would be kind of long-range cannons that would be mounted on the front of a ship. And this is kind of what I wanted to go for here. They kind of, they ended up just being sort of cannon ports, or, you know, sort of standard phaser cannon ports. But that was the idea behind having these here. I know they maybe feel a bit unusual for a TMP era ship, but that was the kind of line of thinking behind having these at all.
Yes.
And
World War.
then
Yeah.
I think there's some details on the aft of the engineering hull that kind of mirror that a little bit. I don't think they're cannons, but they kind
These
of
tubes?
evoke that feeling. Yeah, those things.
Yep.
Yeah,
This is the
don't know
Atlas
what
too.
these are. We don't have the time to work out all of the tech specs of ships, but I'm sure folks will come up with detailed explanations for what everything does on this.
They're the TUBES system.
Yep,
The-
that's canon now.
Yep.
Yep.
Jeremy said it. It's canon.
I have to say, just to kind of interrupt your art spiel a little bit, I want to comment on a few of these elements and how they helped inspire design. These cannon ports and these additional greebles here above the deflector, which are probably weapon mounts,
That's a weapon
are
mount.
basically some of the primary reasons that we on design, when we started seeing the work in progress of this, decided that instead of doing another dreadnought cruiser like the existing Atlas is, I think it's dreadnought cruiser. That sounds right to me. We decided to go with a juggernaut class, much more tactically focused, much more offensively
so, Scuba.
focused, because of the awesome weapon mounts on this ship. It just feels like a more aggressive, more forward, just more aggressive ship than its original, than the Atlas One was. So that's, call that out as something that inspired us. So good job, guys.
Yeah.
I want
And
to quickly
it's
add to
definitely.
that.
Oh, go on.
I want to quickly add to that. The thing above the deflector was the original kind of phaser lance point. And this, by the time I was asked to add this, the design was pretty much like we kind of knew everything we wanted to do. And then Phil H, one of our systems designers, was like, "Hey, put a big ass phaser on it." And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll find a place for a big ass phaser on this somewhere."
Yeah.
Um,
So it's one of those
Yeah.
things where art and design working together can come up with some really fun elements to put these things in the game and give them a unique identity.
Yeah, speaking of art and design working together,
Ranger would be better
I was the one
performance-wise.
worked on putting this into the engine. So one of the things that I did in conjunction with visual effects was to make sure that all of it was set up properly, because as a juggernaut, this has a lance that Jeremy will be showing off later, and the visual effects for that were done by Toby, one of the VFX artists here at Deca, and we worked together to make sure that when it fires, it looks good. But before that, this ship also comes with some customization, Jeremy, if you'll go
All
into the
right.
trailer.
Of course. Get off my cursor. Yeah, I did see this asked was, does it customize with anything else in the game? And I think it should be
That's the
obvious.
Atlas.
Yeah.
For players who obtain the Trafalgar, you will be able to use the Atlas, but not vice versa, if I
Oh.
recall correctly.
There we go.
If you go into the Advanced tab, this Atlas, the Trafalgar, has some special bonus things that it comes with. So if you go into the nacelles,
So you have to get the Trafalgar to get this skin
yeah.
for your Atlas.
yeah,
Oh,
this
there's a
not
bunch of
only
customization.
includes the usual beta and gamma variants, which have different parts of the nacelles lit up, but it also includes an NX variant. Because when Scott originally designed this, it was closer in scheme to the Excelsior, but when I put it into the engine,
Lockbox.
Thomas saw it and decided, hey,
Infinity
some parts
lockbox.
some parts of the Trafalgar look like it would be better if it were in the Enterprise B style. So that's why the final design has the fins on the nacelles and has the teal color that the Enterprise B has. So instead of getting rid of the original design that scoped it, we have it as an additional NX variant that you can use with no fins on the nacelles. And you can recolor the ship as you want, of course, to get the normal blue back.
Well, let me go ahead, since I'm here, and just do some randomization so people can see how those parts could potentially mix and match with one another, as well as some of the material options that come with this.
I don't think this one has any hideous random kit bashes, but you never know. best time to discover things is as always when we're showing stuff live to the players.
Well, there's only 2 ships this time, so hopefully there's
Yeah.
less opportunity for that weirdness. I
Mm.
did a
Yeah.
little bit of this pre-stream and I didn't see any issues, so just to show this off a
Got
few
the teal.
times.
And it
for-
only
for
has
the
one
folks.
engineering hull.
Do not start on the Proxima Pundus. That was such a headache.
Next screenshot contest is just what's the worst thing you can do in the kit bashing.
Oh, Suna, please do not encourage them. They do not need that.
But I do.
Okay, well, I can't
do.
argue with that, I suppose.
All right, and also on the front of visualization, let me go ahead and exit the Taylor here and show off a few vanity shields before we move on to functionality. I'm not going to go through a whole list. We'll do maybe like, a handful, just so that people can get an idea of how the materials are set up.
So I'm going to mute them while they show off some vanity shields, but yeah, it's an interesting looking ship visually. They said that if you buy the Trafalgar, if you didn't already have the Atlas, it will come with the skin for the original Atlas, but it does not apply the other way. So you can't get the Trafalgar skin by just getting the original Atlas. You do have to get the Trafalgar in order to get the Atlas 2 skin. It's definitely, I see mixed comments here. Some people like the skin, some people don't. That's just normal. It's all personal preference. I went over the console and trait earlier, but I'll pull them back up here, and they're going to show them off here in just a moment, but okay, so the console has a passive on it that for 2 seconds, every 8 seconds, your weapons will not have any range penalty and no weapon power drain. So the range penalty means your energy weapons are not losing damage from shooting at a distance. And the no weapon power drain is pretty self-explanatory. The clicky of the console is going to reduce your ship shields to 0, and then reduce the cooldown of all of your bridge officer abilities by a minimum of 15 seconds. This has a lance on it that they're going to show in a little bit here. And then again, the Starship trait, when you inflict or receive a critical hit, it summons a Wild Weasel that are every 10 seconds, up to 5 out at a time, and those last for 60 seconds and help you out in combat. Yeah, you can do cannons on this. Cannons never left. Cannons have always been like for the past couple of years they've been the dominant playstyle, but they've always been really good. Yeah, it's personal preference. Terrible, Dan. It's really agile for a jug. 9 turn rate and 60 inertia is great. My only complaint with the ship itself is the fact that it's Lieutenant Commander Pilot. If this had been a Commander Pilot with a secondary command, that would have been really interesting, because this would have been a great ship to have used the console from the Eagle on. Don't you know, Spencer, personal preference is illegal? Terrible. Terrible, Yan.
What's called a trim sheet, which is basically a predefined layout of where all of the different textures that go onto a ship are kind of placed on.
Yeah, I'll be picking the ship up. I've already got a ship box ready for it. Does it have a hangar bay like the OG Atlas? No, it's a Juggernaut. Juggernauts don't have a hangar bay. Yeah, a Juggernaut with pilot maneuvers would have been something else. That would have... That like this is a ship that I would say is like a... If I'm putting in the tier list, like, it's not bad, but it's also like nothing amazing. This is like a B tier ship. If it'd been pilot command, flip those, specializations around, it would have been like A tier. Yeah, Niak. This is Lockbox, Infinity Lockbox.
Design of this ship, go over its stats and features and some of the thought process that went into it. So I already mentioned before that part of the thought process here was inspired by some of the artwork that we were seeing to make sure that this ship had a different identity that was more aggressive, more frontline leaning than its original counterpart, the Atlas. But in addition to that, we knew coming
Yeah,
into this
mistake on
that
the
the
blog.
Atlas was already a popular ship among players. So we didn't want to depart too heavily from it about the reasons that the Atlas is popular, not least of which, let's go ahead and say it, is the DPRM console. We know that that's a big reason that a lot of players obtain the ship, is not necessarily for the ship, but for the powers that it has. So we definitely kept that in mind when we started designing the ship. We knew that in order to do justice to its counterpart, we had to keep those things in mind, and we had to build on the reputation that the Atlas already had, while at the same time adapting to a new identity. So there's a reason to get this ship instead of its counterpart if you like the play style differently. Or both of them. Get them both, right? Keep the lights on. Thanks.
Get all of them, please.
Get all the ships. So when we chose to go with a Juggernaut, what that means mechanically wise is that we switched it from having an engineering primary seat to now it has a tactical primary seat. It also, the Atlas had a hangar bay, but a Juggernaut ship does not. A Juggernaut ship also comes with a lance. That's kind of a standard feature of that subclass, which I'll show off here in a little bit. So this ship has both a console and an innate lance power that we'll talk about in a little bit. It also has a starship trait, of course, that we will also discuss. In terms of basic capabilities, we also chose to go with command because it's just such a commanding ship. Also, we kind of wanted to stick with, even though it changed from engineering to tactical, we did want to keep some elements of the identity that this ship is really meant to be a tank, a frontline fighter who can really take a beating and then return it. And we felt that the command identity really sets that up pretty nicely. There's a lot of survivability buffs both for you and your whole team. A secondary pilot is a bit of a outside of the box thing, to be honest. We don't typically put piloting seats on ships of this size, but that's also part of the reason that we chose to do it here, is to kind of stretch the boundaries of what we do with ship design and try out something that's a little bit different. Also, I will admit that a small part of that is inspired by the legendary Excelsior, which also has a secondary piloting seat due to the visual ties to that ship.
No, Dan.
Maybe not the legendary in particular, but just the Excelsior in general. So that's why we chose to go that route with the seating that we did. Let's see. I'll go ahead and show off the inventory layout here. This is, like most Juggernauts, are either 4-4 or 5-3. So we have that here going for us with tactical primary and an engineering secondary focus in terms of the consoles and the seating as well. There's mostly tactical and universal with a lesser focus on science, but there is a good amount of universal here, so you can still customize it a lot for your preferences. Now we also put the spec seats on the universal here because we this is a subtle choice. We don't always do this with our ships, although it is more common recently. The idea of giving you more options to actually explore using the specialization for specialization buff seats. And I know there's a whole separate conversation about spec buff powers. Many of them are not quite up to snuff. We're aware. We want to take time and look at those, but in general, the design of the ship is separate from the design of the powers. Okay, that's, I think, all there is to say about the actual core setup here. I will mention, can you confirm if the dev blog is already up? I know you were saying it was coming out about the
Yes.
time we went live. Great.
It is
So
up.
if you guys want more information about the actual numbers, the specific like hull mod and shield mod and everything, I don't have them offhand, so I suggest you go take a look at the dev blog after the live stream. Stay here while we're talking. But all those details can be
Open
found.
another window.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Lance first. Let me move on the map. I have some test dummies somewhere here. Where are they hiding?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I can make more. I have the power.
Yeah, I think the ship looks good visually.
Wahaha! I am Q. Okay.
Here's
So
the
I will
lance.
fire the lance here, just to give you guys a visual look at it. Let me get a more dramatic angle to look at it. Bit of a charge up and then.
That's cool.
I don't know if this is sharing with audio. So just to say, it's nice, punchy energy. Sounds a little bit motion picture era, but not an exact copy of like pulse phasers, which this ship also comes with, by the way. Just pre-equipped because it's a TNP era ship. It does come with these pulse phasers. Not upgradable though, so you can get the others.
That's cool visual.
And then mechanically, let's talk about this a little bit, because in addition to making that one particular person have a very bad day by blasting them with a whole crapload of phaser damage, this also has a long-term buff and debuff effect for yourself and for the foe. So the foe effect here is mostly focused on like large targets, bosses, that kind of thing. It gives them a massive debuff to their critical severity. So if they crit you after they're affected by this, they will crit you for less. You will take less damage. But also, it gives yourself, after firing this, a pretty long-lasting increase to your critical chance with your weapons. So it's a good idea to like on harder targets, bigger ships. This is a great way to opening salvo, not only to get a nice big punch there right off the bat, but also to give yourself and them these critical chance modifications. I want to focus in because I think this does come from both these and the central array. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I worked with VFX with. Like I said earlier, Toby, one of the Deca VFX artists, worked on this lance in particular.
Yeah, many of our lances, by the way, some of you in the chat are noticing, are usually like a cylinder or a cone that they affect multiple targets. This one is just a single target lance because it comes with that extra loaded buff and debuff element to it. So you're just going to make one person have a very bad day.
Also, if stream can't hear, can't hear the audio, I'm not going to imitate it, but it does sound very cool. Yeah, there
I
we
think
go.
they can hear it, so... No, actually, please
They can hear it.
continue. No, they can't hear it, please. Yes, thank you.
I'm in the booth doing all the Foley work for stuff, yeah.
We take working
Oh
on
yeah,
SPO really
it's
serious.
Jeremy, actually. He just
All right.
mix it a little.
Yeah, get to the chopper. This is the Atlas II, the Trafalgar.
Sort of thing. All right, so next let's talk a bit about its console. So this is gives you a power called the Spirit of Sacrifice. This power, first of all, to comment in general, like I said earlier, like we wanted to make sure that whatever the console was on this ship had a kind of a similar vibe, not exactly mechanically the same as the DPRM, but something that is a force multiplier, something that can really help you help the rest of your ship perform even better.
No,
So we arrived at making this an enormous BOF cooldown ability. The number you're seeing on the screen is not accurate, unfortunately. We still need to update the tooltip before next Tuesday's release. But so it says negative 30,000. That's how much shields are draining. But it gives you an incredibly large amount of bridge officer cooldown. The intent here is that this is enough of a cooldown reduction that you can potentially take other things out of your build that you're currently relying on for BOF cooldowns. So this is meant to be hopefully maybe a bit of a meta shakeup. Since it is also a universal console, other consoles, Vans console that reduce the cooldown of universal consoles can then kind of synergize with one another, so that potentially this console is something that can take the place of other things. Maybe your duty officer active roster with cooldowns that maybe you can swap out for something else. Yes, maybe you're using the Boimler effect that maybe this can take its place of and allow different traits to be explored. So that's kind of our thought process with this. This power sacrifices all of your current shields and gives you a proportional cooldown based on how much of your shields you've sacrificed in the process. So that's why this says 30,000. It's grabbing the wrong value. I apologize for the incorrect info at this time. But it does give you a massive cooldown, and even if you use this when there is a minimum effect, at minimum it knocks 15 seconds off your buff cooldowns. I do want to call out that, of course, avid players, veteran players, will know that like most bridge officer powers have some sort of shared cooldown. This won't violate that, so keep that in mind. If there is any sort of shared / minimum cooldown on a bridge officer ability, this will knock you down to that most likely, but not below that. Just so it's communicated there. The visuals for this power I really like. Really shows off the sacrificing your shields to give you this cooldown bonus. Really cool.
Yeah, the
visual
visuals
sequence
for
there.
that were made by Ariel, another VFX artist here at Deca.
I'll show that off again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is the console and a little bit of the thought process that went into that. Really curious to see what some of like the higher end theory crafters and like DPS meta, if there's a place that they can figure out for this. Like I said before, this is something that we're going to be paying attention to because the Atlas has such the DPRM console from the Atlas, from the original ship, has such an outsized impact compared to a lot of other consoles in the game. And we really want this console to have the same vibe. Like I said, it's not a replacement for the DPRM, but we want it to find a place in there. So if we need to make it better, I see somebody in the chat mentioning like maybe it on its own needs a lower base cooldown. We're open to hearing that sort of feedback. We definitely want to make sure that this ship or this console can have some sort of an effect on the wider gameplay and be definitely considered in a large number of different builds, because everyone wants cooldown reduction. Honestly, obviously we have a lot of sources of that in the game already, so we need to figure out how to make this be part of that conversation. That's what we're really after. Has it been tested to use with Vovan and Uncon? Yes, that was a specific part of our design. Yeah.
I think it needs to impact
All
more
right,
than bridge officer
last but
cooldowns.
not least, let's take a look at the Starship trait for this. So this one kind of synergizes with the Lance in that it is a trait that is triggered by landing a critical hit on your target. So using the Lance gives you a nice big boost to your critical hit, so it's more likely that you will trigger this trait. And this trait also kind of plays into the tankiness aspect of the ship. So what it does, in case you can't read the tooltip, because I know it might be tiny on the stream, is whenever you land a critical hit, max once every 10 seconds, you'll actually summon in a Wild Weasel shuttlecraft. If you're unfamiliar with Wild Weasels, these have been in the game for a while, both as a hanger pet and as a triggered by other powers. Wild Weasels will confuse and taunt your enemies. So essentially, they're a way to force other enemies to not shoot at you, increasing your survivability, because now instead they're shooting at your weasels. So this is essentially a passive way of periodically spawning in these weasels that'll distract your enemies. And this also doesn't just help you, but also in group gameplay. It helps the whole team that the enemies are shooting at your weasels and not you. So this is just once every 10 seconds, you can spawn one as long as
I'm
you
not
critically
laughing. I'm
hit.
just smiling
And
reading a chat.
you can have up to 5 of these active at any point in time. So I also know there's a few members of the community that are like, yay, more pets. Anything we give them, that's more pets. So here you go. You're welcome.
More pets will make people happy.
Let's see if I can get this to actually trigger. I have cheater power here to increase my crit rate.
Yeah, I can already see all the pet builds lurking.
I
Can't
forgot
wait,
to swap it.
honestly, to see that in game.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, Stu, I see you in chat. The pet build thing is for you.
Yes, only for you,
Yeah,
personally.
yep, true. We only make abilities for our content creators. No one else. That's it.
That's right. Okay, I might have something set up
Yep, this is
incorrectly on the
TMP
ship.
Atlas Croesus.
But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Wild weasels, not mild measles. By the way, if you're unfamiliar or haven't been around for those things in the past, wild weasels are taken directly from another Star Trek game. That was their primary intent there as well, was to taunt your enemies so that they start shooting at them and not yourself. I wish I remembered which game that was, but it was definitely Thomas that said, hey, we should make these as pets in STO back in the day. And so they rear their head once more.
I mean, I would be very surprised if somebody shoots weasels at me. I think that's a great
Starfleet
strategy.
Command. Of course, I can rely on the community to know exactly what I'm talking about when I don't myself. So yes,
I'll
they
have
were
some more
taken from
commentary
the
here in a minute.
Starfleet Command video game. Okay, I think that's all that I really have to share mechanics-wise. I'm open to hearing questions if there are any from the audience.
Yes, it is time. If you have questions for any of us, we're happy to answer them as far as we can.
I'm not impressed with the
While we
console.
watch Jeremy show off the ship
Sounds
around
like
it
most
all.
of you aren't either. It needs to be more than bridge oscar cooldown.
Okay, we have one. Is there any chance that we may ever get a Team P material with the Impulse yellow deflector?
I will fight for that. I love yellow deflectors. All of my concepts pretty much start out with a yellow deflector.
Yeah, the console here, really not that impressive. We have enough cooldown reduction. I don't want to drop a console slot just so I can, drop Boimler. A console slot does a lot more for me than a trade slot. But yeah, this isn't like a DPRM 2.
I'm not allowed back on stream, so I'll tell you for like a anniversary stream at some point when I'm more established here.
How big is it in scale?
Yeah, I just want to say, can we bring
well,
the green back? No, that's not the best.
I'm really hesitant to do any editor work, even though I'm on a local build. I don't know what I have in the background. Might spoil. But it's a large ship. If you're not familiar with the Atlas, it was set up to be our biggest TOS ship at the time. So it's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a weasel. Hi, guy.
We did downscale the Atlas.
Yeah, Weasel finally spawned in for him there. Let me see. Does Fluffle have this updated yet? I want to see. Yep, the Trafalgar's already on here. Fluffle is very fast at getting things added in. What was I going to compare it to? The Shangri-La. Okay. Shangri-La. Yeah, it's like an upgraded Shangri-La. Is that enough of an upgrade to go for it? That's going to be up to you. You are taking a hit to your mobility stats, but you're gaining some survivability. I mean, that's the trade-off. And the Trafalgar, of course, has the built-in Juggernaut array, but it's a single target array, and it looks like it had a bit of a charge-up time, which is not always amazing.
Proudest moment. Alright. I think we had a question about what we think about boosting saucer pads.
Boosting what? Sorry?
Saucer pads.
It's like non-hanger pet, power pets.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I don't have a firm answer, but I would acknowledge that I don't think that they've scaled as effectively as hanger pets have due to some level cap increases things that we've done over the years. So I'll acknowledge that they're probably not quite up to snuff, but also that we don't really have any plans in the immediate future to do any sort of review on them. But as I have mentioned in the past, typically when we do like an upgraded version of an existing ship, We do try to set aside a little bit of time to look at what else that family of ships can do. This would be particular of note, like if we did another legendary ship of some sort. We would probably take a look at the other powers within that family and see if we could, if they're in need of a boost. The Atlas is not in need of any of that boost. DPRM doesn't need any sort of nothing happening with this ship, but it is something that on the systems design side, we try to take some time to at least look them over. And if we can bring them up to snuff for modern gameplay, then we try to make those changes.
Really drop it into their
I
Twitch
think
chat.
there's also a question that we anticipated from our wonderful Trexpert, and that's regarding yesterday's maintenance. Do we
What happened?
Yes. Yes, Jeremy, what happened, actually?
Servers exploded in a massive fireball. No. Thankfully
The
not.
entire
poor
data center
Q
was
over the
shifted to
servers.
another reality by Q. It was-
Oh yeah, the Q question was just because we had issues with him yesterday. No, to be a little bit serious, we do these kind of maintenances a few times a year. I think everyone who's been here a while knows that every few months we take the game down for quite a while. That's because it's like not just something about the servers, and it's not just a patch, it's a data center maintenance that includes everything involving Star Trek Online and also affects Neverwinter. So it's quite a lot of things. It's for all our platforms, it's consoles, and with the consoles there were some complications that we needed to fix. And when it's such a big project and there's so many little things involved, then if something goes wrong or there's technical difficulties like we experienced yesterday, then it takes longer to fix. And obviously we wanted to make sure that when everything goes back up again, everything works. So that also means there's quite a few extra checks because it's all platforms at the same time. And that just kept extending the deadline because it's not something we want to rush, obviously.
Right.
Not your
Yeah, I
account.
think that's important to clarify. Like yesterday wasn't just about Star Trek Online. It wasn't just about Cryptic Games needing a patch. This was also data center maintenance, where they go through and switch around hardware, update their backend, like the actual software that runs the hardware, the servers, and all that kind of stuff, and optimize things. All of that was also involved. And since we were going to be down, we chose to do a patch at the same time. If everything goes well, then it's great. Everything coincides at the same time, and one downtime for the whole week. But if it doesn't go right, as Sun already said, like one small problem causes a lot of other things to suddenly cascade and snowball. And yeah, we've learned from it though. There's some pretty major lessons picked up from yesterday's maintenance that we're already putting in action. Better plans for the future.
Oh yeah, because nobody wants to deal with me being angry that I had to stay late. No, but we did have a meeting today to go over everything, and I'm not saying, oh, this will never happen again, but obviously we're very dedicated to improving our processes to make sure that there's as little chance as possible for this happening the next time. But it will be well. We're not doing a maintenance like this anytime soon again. The next maintenance will be regular maintenance and not
Yeah, these big
for
downtimes are like
holiday.
quarterly.
Okay. Bridger, thank you for the 10 gifted. I want to shout out something Mara just sent me. I'm going to put this into chat. But Mara's got a thing up with some feedback for Jeremy already up over on Blue Sky about the Trafalgar console. About how the passive on it needs to be better, and then yeah, just going on about how bridge off cooldown reduction is not really that crazy. Again, Bridger, thank you for the 10 gifted. I appreciate it. Now they're wrapping up their stream, it sounds like. Let me just go back and listen quick just to see if there's anything else.
Question about the event coupons. Yes. The catalog for that needs to be extended again. We need to do that regularly, and we are rare. And people I think on Discord last week or this week, I was asked to bring this up to the team. I have brought it up to the team. So that is definitely something on our to-do list right now.
I think so. Yes, we do need to do this more regularly, but I think that it should be kind of a baseline expectation that this might only happen with major updates, like the seasonal updates. We'll try to see if we can get it out at a more regular cadence, but that I think is something that players should kind of come to expect. So like when we did the update back in, what was it, June? That would have been a time where we do a bunch of like back end major updates to bring the game up to date for anything that needs updating. And then we're going to have an update, spoilers, sometime in fall. I won't give you the release date, where again, a lot of the back end stuff will be updated as needed. I think that's where kind of a baseline expectation should be set for the future.
Yes, it is coming sooner rather than later. But we're going to have quite a few streams in the next weeks leading up to the content release, and we will also have content release streams. So that's also something to look forward to.
I don't need your SAS
for the
flow.
next 2 weeks.
I get enough in Slack.
Your Flo's being a menace in the
Yeah.
chat. Everyone say hi to Flo. She's a really great writer for Stowe, and probably after or with Pandas, one of the most knowledgeable Star Trek people I've ever met. Makes me feel very intimidated.
Let's just turn this into a Flow appreciation stream. Yeah,
we'll need to get
that's
her
great.
on. Is she going to be on one of
Big
the
Chadwick.
upcoming streams? Do we know? Can we confirm that?
So yeah, they're wrapping up their stream right now. So let's go over the Trafalgar a bit more. So, like I said before, the console here, let's look at it on this picture. The passive is for 2 seconds every 8 seconds, your weapons will have no range penalty and no weapon power drain, so that's for energy weapons. The console clicky here, it sounds like they were hoping for something as like interesting as DPRM, but this is just going to sacrifice your shields to give you bridge officer cooldown reduction, which I just like a console slot is much more valuable than a trade slot that Boimler occupies. Jeez, I can't English right now. Yeah, this is just a bit rough. Call them out for the NPC. I don't know like fully what that is. I haven't done enough on console. That's something console players need to be bringing up in the chat to them. Post it on the Discord. Post with some videos or pictures over on the Discord. Yeah. So reduces your ship shields to 0 and reduces the cooldown of all bridge officer abilities by a minimum of 15 seconds. That just isn't that great. Dan, I can't English sometimes, okay? You guys know this. Every time I try to say, sagging, look at how much heat I get for it. The ship has an innate lance, but it is single target. It deals phaser damage with 50% shield pen, reduces the foe's critical severity with weapons by 200% for 20 seconds, and then gives you 25% crit chance with your weapons for 20 seconds. I need sleep now. I need a baby to stop crying a room over. Sagan. I'm terrible. Okay. The only thing is, I'll say with the lance here, the NPCs in this game rarely crit. They have like the stock 2.5% crit chance, so that crit severity debuff for them is not really going to have any impact. The starship trait, when you inflict or receive a critical hit, it summons a wild weasel shuttlecraft. That can happen every 10 seconds. You can have up to 5 shuttles out, and each shuttlecraft lasts for 60 seconds. Spencer's pronunciation is permanently debuffed. Yes, it is. So, I mean, the accessories on this, as they are, my initial impression is I'm not that impressed. For the bridge officer setup here, you've got a commander tac with command, lieutenant commander universal with pilot, lieutenant commander engineer, lieutenant science, ensign universal. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of that. Again, like I said earlier, if they had flipped this around and done pilot command, which I know would not have followed the norms for a ship like this, but that would have made this ship a lot more interesting. Yeah, if you have bug reports, please post them in the official Discord. They are bleeding players on console because of the text over covering the pinwheel of skills whenever any of the NPCs talk in missions. Gotcha. Microvax, the traits that Jeremy showed, I believe, were... Let me go back here. I'm gonna have to go here, videos. I think it was just the ones from the recent bundle. They go back a bit here. Yeah, that's the traits from the new bundle. The Timeless Legacy stuff. Now, I thought I saw something when Jeremy looked at the stats of the ship here. I wanna... Oh no, okay. I was mistaking the 3 device slots. I was like, does that have 3 consoles, 3 unis for some reason? No, those are device slots. Okay. Just wanted to double check that. Give me just a minute here. Just a second. I was hoping for something juicy like that, but there's nothing. Lance weapons should be reworked into innate energy weapons. So the command specialization is typically associated with like tanking or I mean to some extent, you know, some would say support, but also for torpedoes. This is not, I mean, you could do torps on this, but I think the big issue here is a specialization like pilot. You know, Jeremy commented on this on stream. You know, pilot is not the best specialization. You know, with the abilities it has. You know that there's a lot of underpowered specialization abilities. But the same goes for like engineering. Like, there's also not a ton of really useful engineering abilities right now. Like, if that pilot had been on the engineer, that could have been an improvement. If they had flipped the command and pilot around and then put that command on the lieutenant commander engineer, this would have been like a really interesting ship. But like I said before, I would say this is definitely like a B tier ship. Like, it's not bad. It's just at the price point. You know, if I go back to that sortable filterable ship list here, we are talking about something that is just a, you know, a fairly small improvement over the Shangri-La, which you can get right in the Zen store, you know, account wide for $30. So, like, for the ship itself, it's a bit of a hard sell. It's really for the visuals. Another near miss for the Eagle console, yeah. The easiest thing that they could do is alter the Eagle console to make it so it doesn't require a full pilot seat. Like, that would boost up a ship like this, the Shangri-La, but you know, let me just bring this up here. You know, when we're talking about the pricing on these things, if I can zoom out. Yeah, this, you guys get to see my how much is this going to cost per character? What are keys at right now? Like 12.8 still. So this ship's probably going to cost you like $100. Shangri-La. Shangri-La is $30 account wide. The Trafalgar is $100 per character. I just, like, when it comes to the ship itself, like, yeah, again, it's basically a Shangri-La that has the ability to do a Gravwell 1, if that's what you're interested in, but, like, that's the difference. Rax, yeah, it's the Trafalgar Command Juggernaut. It is the Atlas 2. Yeah, it does have a built-in lance, yes. And I'll be testing that all out. I'm going to pick up the ship on Tuesday. I've got a T6 box ready to go for it. And before someone says, no, I did not spend money for it. I used in-game resources to acquire it. That's how I typically get my ships. Would I use a T6 coupon on any of the timeless ships? I run a plasma build on the Delkina, and even if nerf, the Hellboy Light sounds fun on a CSV build. I mean, if you want to run it, if you want to burn resources on it, you do you. Just go in with the understanding that it may just be a temporary thing. What if lance weapons function like Maelstrom energy torpedoes, single strong hits that get stronger the more charged it is? That'd be interesting. Whaling with in-game resources is toxic? Terrible. That's toxic. Yeah, I mean, this is a perfectly capable ship. You are also trading maneuverability for the increased survivability, so I mean, that is another perk. Like, between these two, the Trafalgar and the Shangri-La, the Trafalgar is better, but you know, it's not like a major difference. I think it would be more productive for me to have an established script to read out before I give any response to the Boimler specific comments. Yeah, and again, they said if you want this visual, you do need to buy the Trafalgar. Like, your Atlas that you already have is not going to come with this skin. You have to get the Trafalgar to get the Trafalgar visuals. Yeah, Alpatron, I'm not impressed with the console right now. The best ship in comparison to the Shangri-La, yeah. The idea is that the console from this could be a potential replacement for Boimler. That was what was said on stream. So the passives here, they're a bit weird. Ignore the passives for right now. The clicky, sacrifice current shields to recharge all bridge officer abilities. Yeah, the idea is this could be like an alternative. Would the console pair good with the Starship trait Sure Shot? That's the Herogen Predator trait, right? I think you you might have some issues lining up the timing, but I mean, sure, you could try it. But there's nothing, preventing them from going off at the same time, so. Glad shields would do something. Hey, shields do something with the Kittimer shield. You can use your shields to do damage by letting them drop down. Cobra. That's the idea is you'd be reducing the cooldown of this console with like Uncon and Voven. The issue is like when I'm looking at one of my DPS builds right now, and I should have the game up. Hold on. Like if I'm looking at one of my DPS builds right now, like I'm getting 100k DPS from the majority of my consoles, and there isn't a single personal space trait that I can think of that is, really doing that comparable damage. So, sure, something like Boimler, Good Day to Die, though those are helping quite a bit, but a console slot is much more valuable than a trait slot. So I just don't see myself dropping any of this, any of the stuff that I run for a console like this. Fred, but yeah, I mean, like, what are my consoles am I going to drop here? Sequential Warhead Loader, that does a ton of damage. Chronum Chronophage, that does a ton of damage and drops shields. The Credence Lithium Transporter does a ton of damage. Also reduces my weapon power, or eliminates the weapon power cost for 20 seconds. Particle Conversion Matrix, no, that's damage buff and survivability. Like, everything I have on here does a lot. Why do I have Elios in a science slot? Okay. But yeah, the thing is, like, every console I have on here does a lot, and I just don't see this console like competing against those. Now for the Lance, again, it's single target. I don't know why it says 5 max then if it's single target. It's an interesting approach. It's just the 2 foe minus 200% critical severity with weapons for 20 seconds. Like if I pull up a parse here, let me just load this in the parser quick. If it wants to go, there we go. So if I look at infected and I look at incoming damage, the thing is, like, the enemies rarely crit. Like in this run where I took in 14k damage per second on my arc rail or mirror angle, whatever, the crit chance from the enemies was 0.429%. So the value of that minus 200% crit severity with weapons to the foe hit by Lance doesn't really matter, because not even the bosses really crit that often, because they have like the base 2.5% crit chance. Sounds more like a PvP. Well, it's not a trait, it's the innate Lance. Check the pop channels. Oh, PvP. The PvP scene's already quite dead right now. One of the major PvPers, I think he's made his announcements, decided to step away, so PvP scene is it's bleeding people. And then again, the Starship trait, which I've covered before, like the Wild Weasels historically haven't done too much, but I mean, I'll give it a try. PV crickets, yeah. Yeah, STO has made itself very unfriendly for anyone wanting to get into that scene. But yeah, the Trafalgars it's not a bad ship. It just it's a good looking ship. That's the best thing to say about it. It's like a TMP Excelsior themed Atlas. Yeah, I believe so, Microvax. Yeah, Dracana. Yeah. Steven, probably not. Yeah. I think seeing ships like this tells me too, like if we want a legendary Excel or not legendary, a better like 5/3 sovereign, need to do like some theory craft videos, get them out there and just be like, yo, this is what we want to see. We don't want to see, like secondary pilot, for instance. I think the pilot again would have been fine if it had been flipped around for this to be a commander pilot. Like a pilot juggernaut, I think people would have enjoyed. But command pilot, yeah. Yeah, there's a 35% bundle sale on PC. It's unannounced, yeah. Yeah, Cypher. Show them the kind of things people want to see, yeah. So nothing here stands out as being like super impactful meta-wise. Mara's already got a thread over on Blue Sky going over the console from the Trafalgar. I'm gonna get the ship. I'll test it out Tuesday. That's gonna happen. I've got time set aside to do that on Tuesday. And if there happens to be another ship, and if the buyout happens to be reasonably priced, then perhaps I'll test that ship out as well. No idea what that possibly could be, but yeah. Yeah, T6 and ship traits change too much of the game to be PvP friendly, yeah. Steven, no. Not when we're already running the Credence console. Like the Credence console, the dilithium transporter, whatever, like it sort of sucks to use, but yeah. Yeah, Stanky Boy, I agree. I'll try to get something out. I just right now, like I if I wasn't a content creator, I wouldn't buy this ship. That's basically the way I'm looking at it. Like unless you're just really into the visuals of the ship, like based on what's been presented so far, which again, they're open to feedback, as Stanky Boy pointed out. But yeah, like as it is, if I wasn't a content creator, I wouldn't spend the resources on this. Can a full-size cruiser be a destroyer? Yes. Did they announce a new 10 Ford? I turned the stream off. Is it over? Yeah, okay. It ended a couple minutes after I tabbed out to look at the stats quickly. Yeah, next Thursday. Was Complex Plasma Fire bugged at release? I don't think so. Next 10 Forward is Tuesday? Okay. I'll already probably be streaming in the game by the time they start, so I probably won't do a live reaction like this. Dan, thank you for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Nick, how's it going, man? Nick, imagine if this had been Commander Pilot, Lieutenant Commander Command. I don't like. I was active at the time, Phil, and I don't recall there being anything crazy. It's only 5 a.m. for you? Terrible. Has your new computer shipped out yet? By the way, I had something arrive. I bought a B580 because it came with, they were doing a game bundle promo with like Battlefield 6 and all that. But Newegg messed up. They advertised that it was going to come with Assassin's Creed as well, and like the Ultimate Edition of Battlefield, and it looks like Intel. I'm hoping Intel will honor it because Newegg, it sounds like, won't. I'm going to drop this link into chat again. If I can find. There we go. Go give that some support. Tamara's got a thread up to go over feedback for the Trafalgar. Cobra. I believe the Vovin should be the next MUD's ship that we see added in. So what Mara's got here is feedback on the Trafalgar console. The passive needs to have better uptime. Just make it always on, to be honest. If they want it to be deeper M2, that would do it. That would, completely remove weapon power cost and the range. Yeah, power cost and the range drop off, that'd be great. As it is, the offensive impact is worse than other stuff we have to manage weapon power consumption, and the range fall off penalty elimination isn't enough. Boimler occupies a trait slot. The magnitude of impact most traits have is much lower than consoles, so the opportunity cost of dropping Boims and adding this console is really tight. We have to really have a reason to use this console over Boims. Buffing the passive, as mentioned, solves it. Miss the Ilios? Oof. Did I get an email from Master Replicas? I'm going to check here. About Roctaginos. Yeah, they've got Roctagino cups, I see. Terrible. Let me finish what Mayor's got here. Bridge officer cooldown methods need to be consistent. On a full up Uncon Voven build with 7 triggers, you'd be able to get this to go off once every 30 seconds or so. This means we would have a 1 cycle gap, as our most important offensive powers on energy weapon builds are 15-second powers. We'd want the base cooldown of this console to be significantly lower so that it can slap every rotation consistently. 1 minute might be enough, 30 seconds might be called for. I need to get in the tank on that, but if you want this to be deeper M tier, this console needs significant buffs. Yeah, that's very much needed. But yeah, Master Replicas, they got some new Roctagino mugs. I wish they had an affiliate program. That would be amazing. Sadly, they don't. They did also, this is completely random off topic, but I saw the Destiny is available to pre-order for anyone that's a Stargate Universe fan. But yeah, we're getting sidetracked here. So back to the Trafalgar. Is there any questions anyone has about this ship? Like anything like that? Their stream VOD is... I think that's what I heard. I'm going to have to go back and listen to the stream, just some highlights around that area. Why is the only one? Is it on the list for the event campaign next year? Yeah, absolutely. I don't foresee the event campaign changing. So let me unmute and replay what Borges had to say about the console.
But it gives you an incredible.
But it,
No. As is, no.
also, if stream can't hear,
Stop sound effect. Of sacrifice, kind of to help the rest of your ship perform even better. Like I said earlier, like we wanted to make sure that whatever the console was on this ship had a kind of a similar vibe, not exactly mechanically the same as the DPRM, but something that is a force multiplier, something that can really help you help the rest of your ship perform even better. So we arrived at making this an enormous BOF cooldown ability. The number you're seeing on the screen is not accurate, unfortunately. We still need to update the tooltip before next Tuesday's release. But so it says negative 30,000. That's actually.
How does the lance compare to other lances? Based on it being single target, it's got innate buffs on it, so it gives you 25% crit chance for your weapons for 25 seconds after using it. But I expect like the World Razor lance to do better.
Actually, that's how much shields are draining. But it gives you an incredibly large amount of bridge officer cooldown. The intent here is that this is enough of a cooldown reduction that you can potentially take other things out of your build that you're currently relying on for BOF cooldowns. So this is meant to be hopefully maybe a bit of a meta shakeup. Since it is also a universal console, other consoles, Ven's console that reduce the cooldown of universal consoles can then kind of synergize with one another, so that potentially this console is something that can take the place of other things. Maybe your duty officer active roster with cooldowns that maybe you can swap out for something else. Yes, maybe you're using the Boimler effect that maybe this can take its place of and allow different traits to be explored. So that's kind of our thought process with this. It's
as it is. It's just not good enough to replace Boimler. Boimler is pretty cemented for cooldowns, yeah. Like Boimler's just so good. It's it's not always consistent, but it's good enough. And I just this console has too long of a recharge time. And I think if they want this to be at the tier of DPRM, that uptime for the passive needs to be a lot better. It's not even just Boimler. Like, there's other ways to handle your cooldown reduction. I mean, you can pretty much nowadays, with all the other stuff, especially with the new endeavors, you just slap Photonic Officer on. Yeah. Calm Before the Storm, the D7, yeah. There's a bunch of different ways that we're getting Bridge Officer cooldown reduction.
This power sacrifices all of your current shields and gives you a proportional cooldown based on how much of your shields you've sacrificed in the process. So that's why this says 30,000. It's grabbing the wrong value.
Do I remember when Plasmonic Leech was a thing? Yes, I very much remember. I made a lot of VC off Plasmonic Leech back in the day.
I apologize for the incorrect info at this time. But it does give you a massive cooldown, and even if you use this when there is a minimum effect, at minimum it knocks 15 seconds off your BOF cooldowns. I do want to call out that, of course,
Universal Console is too much of a sacrifice for bridge cooldown. Yeah. I had to open the Endeavor system can, didn't I? Yeah. By their own admission, Lockbox promo ships are targeting DPS people. This is also explicitly intended to shake up the meta. The fact it's clearly targeted to us but misses the mark is why I facepalm. I think that there's a very, very huge gap between what they think we want and what we want. I brought this up in a recent discussion about the Fire at Will stuff. I think they just didn't know that we wanted a better Fire at Will trait until earlier this year. And it happened to have been really bad timing for us, that rate when they got that feedback finally, when the people working on ships finally got the feedback about us wanting a better Fire at Will trait comparable to like Withering Barrage for cannons. That happened to have been right around the time that they were working on the Brignoud Thought. So like, I know that's going back to a discussion from a couple weeks ago, but I don't think that they put the fire at will trait on the odd thought because that they just wanted to milk money from us. I think it was just bad timing on our part, and they just legitimately didn't know up until it was brought up at that point. I think now that they know, and now that they've seen the feedback that there will be more fall traits added in, hopefully to the C store, I don't think it was done maliciously with the odd thought.
Avid players, veteran players, will know that like most bridge officer powers have some sort of shared cooldown. This won't violate that, so keep that in mind. If there is any sort of shared / minimum cooldown on a bridge officer ability, this will knock you down to that most likely, but not below that. Just so it's communicated there. The visuals for this power I really like. Really shows off the sacrificing your shields to give you this cooldown bonus. Really cool.
Yeah, the
visual
visuals
sequence
for
there.
that were made by Ariel, another VFX artist here at Deca.
Let's show that off again.
Yeah.
Actually, if they do another sovereign, which we've been asking for, give that the other fall trait. But the thing is, if they do another sovereign, they're gonna monetize that most likely. That's probably gonna be a lockbox promo ship on its own. So that wouldn't help.
Yeah, so that is the console and a little bit of the thought process that went into that. Really curious to see what some of like the higher end theory crafters and like DPS meta, if there's a place that they can figure out for this. Like I said before, this is something that we're going to be paying attention to because the Atlas has such the TPRM console from the Atlas from the original ship has such an outsized impact compared to a lot of other consoles in the game. And we really want this console to have the same vibe. Like I said, it's not a replacement for the DPRM, but we want it to find a place in there. So if we need to make it better, I see somebody in the chat mentioning like maybe it on its own needs a lower base cooldown. We're open to hearing that sort of feedback. We definitely want to make sure that this ship or that this console can have some sort of an effect on the wider gameplay and be definitely considered in a large number of different builds because everyone wants cooldown reduction. Honestly, obviously we have a lot of sources of that in the game already, so we need to figure out how to make this be part of that conversation. That's what we're really after.
Its current implementation, no. Like I said, passives on it got to be buffed up better. It's got to have better uptime on the passive. The cooldown for the clicky has to be lower. Wow, is that a Federation ship? Finally, those ROM KDF have been so spoiled lately with all those releases. It's time Fed got a ship too. Daniel. Oh no. Yeah, it needs to be buffed up. You know, here's my thought process. Okay, let me pop my game back up. That would help. Right now, I run the dilithium transporter off of the Credence because when its clicky's up for 20 seconds, that's immunity to weapon power cost. The range penalty is also removed, if I recall. It's not listed there, but I believe that's part of it. So like that's already doing like part of what this pass is wanting to do, and we have very high uptime on that because of Unconvoven and it being a 20-second duration. It does have a really annoying activation time, which makes us just actively hate using it. It also does some damage, about 100k typically, so it's got pros and cons, but if I could have a console that just always removes the weapon power cost and the range penalty, and like even if the clicky wasn't like that amazing, I might consider that. Intel, Temporal, Temp Intel's like probably the strongest combo for a Sovereign right now, I'd say. And that would make the most sense, because Temporal first contact, Intel because I like it. That would be a great combo. I think yeah, there's a bunch of different ways they could have made the Trafalgar a bit more interesting. But yeah, let me find the right window here. I have too many windows open right now. Sorry, just let me read this here. Surprised they made it a Juggernaut since they released a Juggernaut carrier with the Breen, yeah. No range penalty on cannons or beams, yeah, that'd be cool. The other thing is too is like when I look at like command seating, I generally I lean towards tank or torpedoes. And like you could do the torps on this, but the console, the lance, like they don't really lean into that a ton. I don't know. It's just when I look at this, just my overall feel of the ship is that when it comes to the stat side, it doesn't feel like it's very synergized. Like it's not. I don't know. It's the layout, the accessories, that they're not working towards the same thing, I guess, is the best way to put it. Command ships are really good. Command intel is like insanely good. If they're doing any carriers, like command intel or temp intel combo is what you're hoping for. But yeah, this I think I've said everything I have to say on it, and it's pretty much at this point I just need to get a video done on it, and yeah. So it's a lockbox ship. It'll be a very easy skip for a lot of you. Was the Lamar supposed to be another kind of sovereign? Yes, the Lamar is a sovereign variant. My tank ship has a console that requires my shields to be full to work. Indeed. Okay, so any final questions before I wrap this up here? Because I'm going to go get started on a video, try to have that out later this evening or early tomorrow. Yeah, no problem. Sorry I didn't catch everything that was said on the 10 Forward stream, but they do have their VOD up over on their Twitch channel. I'm going to include a link to that here, so copy and paste. That is the VOD for the Twitch stream. They addressed that near the end of the stream, Firebrand. It's something they're aware of, but probably won't happen until like another future update, like a big update. Pilot command to when? I don't know, man. Dan, thank you. Any update on Hellbore? No update. Parser wise, if you want to use Hellbore right now, we are allowing it on the table for Oscar. CLR, I believe, is also now allowing it. The current understanding and assessment is that it's technically working as advertised on the trait on the description. It's just that the drain doesn't have a lockout, so the drain just can go quite crazy. Okay. Thank you all for tuning in. If you have any follow-up questions, hop on over to the CasualSAB Builds Discord, and if you want to ask them questions or report bugs, give them feedback, you can do that over on the official Discord, which I think I have in the description. But if not, let me get a link to that here. So this is a link to the official Stowe Discord. If you're not already in there, then make sure to join. That's the best place to give them feedback and report any bugs, stuff like that. Okay. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you all around. And again, Thank you, Bridger, for the 10 gifted. Dan for the super chat.